getting some extra data during this session. Nothing you need to worry about, but as we have some new parts, we'll just confirm they're performing to spec.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my F1 2019 career mode today for the Singapore Grand Prix, and it is probably going to be a tough one. We do have some upgrades on the car, so that is always a positive as we continue the R&D and keep improving, but it will be a tricky race because there will be some rain in the middle of the race. It will start off dry, then to light rain, then heavy rain, then back to dry at the end, according to the forecast. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. But the R&D has gone absolutely insane with some of the other teams. Williams looking very, very strong at the moment in the R&D chart, at least. It hasn't translated on track yet. Albon had a good qualifying in Monza, so we'll see if that plays out in that way. But anyway, let's get into qualifying and see how it all goes.
It's time for us to settle down and the drivers below to get fired up. Once again, welcome to Singapore as we get ready for the green light and the start of what should be a fantastic qualifying session. It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Right, so we move on to the end of Q1 and we get through just about, quite a long way down though, in P12 that is, with Antonio Giovinazzi, Danny Kvyat, Kevin Magnussen, Kimi Räikkönen and Nico Hülkenberg in the Toro Rosso knocked out, so no real surprises there, but Leclerc tops the session, so we have plenty of time to find. So we move on to Q2, and you can see as we complete our lap in Q2, we've made an improvement over our first lap, but as we find out the position, we're in P12, so it's out, we're over and out in qualifying just like that in just the second session, and we'll be starting from 12th place. Leclerc again tops the session, so an absolute disaster for us. Lance Stroll gets through, which is good for him. He's been struggling in qualifying as of late. George Russell gets through. Perez knocked out though in the other Ferrari is an interesting one. He should definitely have gotten through, so I'm not the only one struggling for pace at the moment. Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly knocked out as well as Daniel Ricciardo, but yeah, some surprise knockouts in this second session, including us. So let's just get into the race and try to make up for it.
As the sun sets over the South China Sea, the sport that never sleeps is alert and raring to go. Welcome, under the bright lights of the Marina Bay circuit, to another Singapore Grand Prix. It's a very long, very physical lap, this one, and really there's not much in the way of margin for error. So we have a bit of an endurance race for you tonight. The Marina Bay Street Circuit then has 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, taking us a total of 3.1 miles around the landmarks of downtown Singapore. An average lap speed around here, just 107 miles per hour. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the scientist. No grip penalties, no mitigating circumstances, just a poor qualifying performance and a very disappointing start position for them today.
It's not a nice feeling, I promise you. They've got a quick car underneath them, but they've got onto the grid today and they need a pair of binoculars to see the start lights. They'll be desperate for a good start to make up for some of that deficit.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Stroll, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Hamilton, Russell, Albon, Perez and the scientist, Gasly, Ricciardo, Antonio Giovinazzi and Butler. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Kvyat, Magnussen, Lucas Faber and Kimi Raikkonen. Hülkenberg and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Not a great starting position for us, but hopefully we can improve the situation throughout the race.
Thanks, Anthony Davidson. I don't happen to have a pair of binoculars with me at the moment, so it'll be an interesting start, but there's not really a lot of strategy to talk about. We'll start on the soft tyres and go until the rain comes out. It really won't be very long. About 10 minutes into the race at the longest, and I think that includes the formation lap, so the rain will be coming down very, very soon in this one as we now go to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. It's a pretty average start, and Gasly with a storming start, and actually get a bit nervous there and brake quite early and just bail out of the corner completely as we try to maintain 11th position. That we were elevated up into P10 from a few grid penalties, so we've lost a spot off of the start to Gasly, but along this back straight we'll get into the slipstream of the Haas car in front of us and see if we can make a move. Sergio Perez incidentally made a nice move around the outside of everyone into the first corner. We didn't have that luxury as we sent one down the inside of Gasly, and we get the move done. And next up is the Williams car of Alex Albon, who has struggled a little bit in qualifying today, so unable to replicate what he did in Monza, qualifying up in 4th position on that day. But we'll see if he can move his way up through the field. The Williams car is very, very fast in this career mode.
Let's focus now for the rest of the race.
So we just need to get the focus, as Jeff has just incidentally said, and we'll try to put the pressure on Albon and Sergio Perez in front of him. We have a little think about a look into the right-hander there into the 3rd sector, but not to be. And again, we're just waiting for an opportunity. We've got more pace than these cars in front, but just not finding an opportunity at the moment. So we'll just have to sit and wait for a long straight and some slipstream. Maybe we'll wait until the DRS is enabled, but I don't want to hang around for too long because the rain will be coming very soon, and I like my chances of overtaking in the dry a lot more than in the wet. So we need to try to get some moves done as soon as possible. So we move on to the back straight, and we'll be sitting in the slipstream of Albon down the outside, around the outside of Albon, and we get the move done.
You made it look easy.
And we have a little look as we cover off Albon, and have a think about a move on Perez, but that would have been very aggressive.
The rain to hit us any time now. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
But lap 3 of the race, and the rain is coming at any minute as we sit right behind Sergio Perez at the end of the back straight. We have a look to the inside, down the inside, and a very aggressive and opportunistic move there on Sergio Perez. We get it done cleanly though, and that is what counts in this one, and we can now focus on Lewis Hamilton up ahead in the Red Bull. We're sitting in the slipstream once again along the straight. This is becoming a favourite opportunity for us as we go down the inside as George Russell and Lance Stroll battle away.
Good job.
In the Williams and Mercedes in front of us side by side. That is a strange sentence to say, but we're going to make a move here to the inside 3 wide as we head left through the middle sector, and we just can't get the traction on the exit, but we're going to try it again down the inside once again, but I had to back out of that. That was going to end in a pile-up if I stuck the nose in there. So George Russell manages to hold off Lance Stroll in the Mercedes at the moment and get that move done. But we're going to dive down the inside of Stroll into turn 1. We get that move done on the Mercedes. The Mercedes, a very slow car, midfield car at best at this point in this career mode, so it's unfortunate that they've lost so much pace But we follow George Russell into the pits as the rain is now coming down, and we move on to the intermediate tyres for the first time in this race, and we should hopefully get out without losing any positions. We did get that slight delay as we came in behind Charles Leclerc in this one.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
But very, very cautious on the pit exit, very narrow as we get back on track. But now this is a very interesting phase of the race to see how my pace is, and if this is an opportunity or if we're just
some information on Ricardo. They're retiring from the race.
limiting the damage at this point. But Ricardo retires from the race with a mechanical failure. He pulls up at turn 3. I think that is, comes to a very sudden stop there, did Ricardo. But anyway, we eventually catch up and go down the inside of George Russell, and we get that move done and move our way up into the 5th position. Russell down to 6th, and that is a nice move. We've got a bunch of clean air now in front of us. Charles Leclerc is the next car up ahead as we continue and have a big slide there through the left-hander in the middle sector, that very awkward corner.
15 minutes, after which we should see a transition to light rain.
So yeah, a very actually had a lot of slides through that corner, just in the nature of the way you approach it, but very, very close there behind Charles Leclerc as we continue through this race. Look at the spray. There is absolutely zero visibility at this point, and I'm just trying to sit close enough and trying to find an opportunity, but at the moment I just can't run close enough behind because I can't see a thing as soon as I get close. So it is a very tricky situation in the race at this point in time, but we'll continue to push on and just hope that we find an opportunity at some point. But the visibility is absolutely shocking.
We've got about 15 minutes of this heavy rain left, after which we should see light rain conditions. Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
And the heavy rain now is coming down, and as we continue on, the track conditions are only going to get worse, so much so that everyone comes in for the blue wall full wet tyres, but I decided
This
that
heavy rain will last another 10 minutes before we see it transition over to light rain. It's hard to say if inters or wets are better right now.
there's only 10 minutes of the heavy rain left, and it's not going to be really worth it.
Once now, one stop left, 13 laps until your pit window is open.
So I'm going to stay out. They will have lightning pace on the correct tyres, but the intermediate tyres don't handle the full wet conditions that badly.
It's borderline, but if I were you, I'd come in and change tyres. I'm just not sure we're on the right ones for the conditions anymore.
And you can see we are travelling very, very slowly, but the thing is, on the blue wall tyres, they're not going that much faster in relative terms. Realistically, they're catching about a second or two a lap, but considering you need 20 seconds or so, depending on the track, to make a pit stop, they're not going to make up the time by the time the pit stop window is open to go back onto the intermediates, because this heavy rain is not going to hang around for too long, according to the forecast.
Vettel behind, okay, the gap behind is 9.2 seconds. They're on fresh wets. Their tyres are 2 laps old. The time last lap was a 2:03.9.
And I'll just mention, if you look at the positions in the top left, Bottas is travelling quite slowly and holding everyone up, so Vettel is really
fitting intermediate tyres next.
the only threat. But Jeff told me that it's now the crossover point to go back onto the intermediates, so I decided to come in now, seeing as everyone else will be in as well. Vettel follows me in, so he's caught up quite a lot of time in this one. But we
Exit now. You'll be racing as you leave the pits. Complete. Go now.
we do get out of the lane right in front of Vettel,
Charles is in for his stop.
and that resets the strategy. We're now on the same strategy as all of the AI.
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
And we have absolutely cheated the system here and come out in the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix by not switching on to the full wet tyres and just driving carefully for a few laps. And we've lost all our
You're doing
advantage.
well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes. Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
We've lost all
You've
our...
burnt through a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
Set the car to mix one as soon as possible. We're leading our teammate by 19.4 seconds.
You could have mentioned that a while ago, Jeff. We have a pile of fuel to save, and we've lost all of our time advantage that we did have while everyone else was going very quickly on those blue wall tyres.
Okay, looks like some of those puddles are clearing. We're still on the right tyre for the time being, but we're not a million miles away from slick conditions. Looks like the weather is going to dry up in about 5 minutes. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
But anyway, we continue on, and the dry period at the end of the race is fast approaching. As you'll notice, we are only just over halfway through this race. There is still a lot left to go. A very long Grand Prix, this one.
Radar is clear. Weather is looking good for now. Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
And now it is the crossover point. Crucially, Vettel stays out, so that is good for us. I was worried that I found out that a few seconds too late and Vettel might get the undercut, but thankfully he stays out. And
Affirmative. Medium tyres at the next
as I
stop.
was saying, Bottas in the Mercedes is holding everyone up. He's doing a really good job to not get overtaken.
Understood. Stopping this lap.
And as we come in to the pits to change on to some medium tyres to the end of the race, I'll finally finish that point about Bottas. He's held up everyone so much that they're really just not even a factor in this race anymore. They're almost 20 seconds behind, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but they're a long way behind anyway.
Go. Exit now. We're racing on the exit. Release. Release.
But yeah, I remember at some point we're 20 seconds behind towards the end of the race.
Charles is in the pit.
So yeah, not quite at the moment. But as Charles comes in right now, but they're still a long way behind us. And Charles Leclerc is in that train behind Bottas, and he was just entering the pit lane as we were coming out. So we've got a good 10 to 15 seconds on them at least. But anyway, we get out of pit lane ahead of Vettel, and as we continue on, we...
You are in first position. Front of the pack. Vettel behind. They're on fresh these tyres now. 22 laps to finish the race on this compound.
Say what? Anyway, finishing my point, as we continue on, we really pushed the limits, and I ended up with a lot of confidence in the car after the track started to dry up, and I did start to pull away from Vettel in the end as we continue on. We continue to trade fastest laps, but right now Vettel is down the inside as we head into the first corner. We're going to hold it though around the outside and sweep around and take the position back, jockeying for position through turns 2 and 3, and we're going to hold it to the inside as we head on to the straight and take the position back there. So a really strong battle there with Sebastian Vettel, and we do manage to hold on. But as I was saying, as we continue on, we trade fastest laps with some of the other cars up and down the field. They keep stealing it away, but we've got two purple first sector and second sector here, and we cross the line to set another fastest lap of the race and hopefully get that bonus point. But as we come around now to set another fastest lap,
Great work. That's a new fastest lap for the race.
you can see we're really pulling away from Vettel. We catch up to the Toro Rosso of Fiat. I think he may have some issues in this race. He's very slow. And Toro Rosso in general have been absolutely dreadful in this season, and they have had a pretty horrible time. I think Albon scored 2 points for them, and that's about it, as Vettel sends one down the inside, but we managed to hold him off on that occasion. We're now actually on the penultimate lap of the race, so it is crunch time this time around, and we really need to make sure we hold on to this. So Vettel has actually caught up quite a lot. We did get away, but I think he must have turned his engine up, as we did have to continue to save fuel on and off throughout this race. But we're in control at the moment with a lap and a half to go. And as we now move on to the final lap of the race, this is the last major overtaking opportunity for Vettel, and he's quite a long way behind. So I think we might just survive this one. and if we can just keep it on the track, we will come home with the race win, and Vettel can't do anything into the left-hander at the end of the straight in the first sector, so we hold on to the position for now, but we still need to keep the car on the track for the rest of this lap. There's walls everywhere around here, not least the one on the right heading into this corner, and you can see us steered well clear of that wall. I always seem to hit it at the worst times in online racing, but I've been steering well clear of that bit of wall that sticks out all throughout this race. It may have been costing me some time, but it is better than costing me some front wing. But this is the last real overtaking opportunity, and we are too far ahead for Vettel to do anything there, so we move on now to the final sector, the last few corners of the race. You can see we're almost out of fuel, and as we head through the final two corners, we actually go into low fuel mode, but it's not going to matter because we're going to cross the line to win the Singapore Grand Prix.
Fantastic drive, just fantastic. You deserved that race win.
And we absolutely stole that one.
A victory for Racing Point, and the team will certainly be celebrating tonight. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the
Fair
race.
enough.
It was great to watch as well though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Racing Point's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the veterans of the sport. They're making their way out to the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
So it's another race win for us. I believe this is race win number 6 in the season. I'm not 100% sure. It could be number 7. I've lost count recently. But another race win on the board for us. Sebastian Vettel brings home P2. Verstappen steals third place from Bottas in the closing stages as well.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. The scientist increases their championship lead. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to the scientist. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Racing Point continue to run away with it out in front. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So there you have it, an hour and 40 minutes of racing, and we managed to take the victory in the end. A bit of a... Actually, not really a lot happened in that race, to be completely honest. It was really just the strategy that jumped us all those positions, and cutting the first corner may have helped slightly to stay ahead of Giovinazzi there, but anyway, oh well, it is done now. We didn't get in trouble for that somehow. That was a major cut. We were basically in the pit exit, but anyway, what is there to say about that race? I'm not really sure what happened to Leclerc. He just didn't have the pace, or he was in a train the whole time and never really tried to overtake anyone. And that was a bit of a theme in this race. There was always a train behind Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll, the two Mercedes cars. They qualified very well, but in the race they just had no pace, especially in the rain. They were really were forming trains behind them. But I think they both ended up in the points in the end. Bottas with 4th, Stroll somewhere at the back end of the points, 7th, 8th, 9th, I think, something around that area. So it's actually a solid day for both of them. Crazy to think that in the first few races of the season, Stroll was a title contender, finishing I think 3rd in the Australian Grand Prix with that crazy move down the inside of Hamilton and someone else. I can't remember who was in that battle. Perez, I think. But anyway, yeah, absolutely insane. But yeah, the times have very much changed for Mercedes. Oh, that was close. I don't remember that happening with Vettel there. But yeah, a hard-fought race towards the end with Vettel. He was putting the pressure on, drifting back and forth in and out of contention, but we brought it home in the end.
performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. It doesn't get much better than a win at this track, does it?
Yeah, Singapore is a really tough track, this Marina Bay street circuit, and yeah, it's quite satisfying to be able to put the race together and come through from 12th on the grid, or 10th where we actually started.
You performed better than last weekend. What changed?
I'm not really sure. We just had a really good strategy this time, and we decided to take a risk to stay on the intermediate tyres, and it paid off for us.
You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
Yeah, as I said, we decided to take the risk, and it paid off.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
There's no secret really. This car has been rapidly improving all through the season, and that it shows.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Thanks, Claire. I'm really running out of answers for these interviews, but anyway, that brings the Singapore Grand Prix weekend to a close. We close up on Charles Leclerc in the rivalry, still losing that, so we need to continue this form in Russia, hopefully, with better qualifying, I should hope. But as for this weekend, that's about it. We get 1,200 resource points, so not a whole heap.
Just wanted to say congrats on the podium. It's thoroughly deserved. We were sweating those last few laps on the pit wall, but you brought it home.
And I want to get some aero upgrades on the car, some more downforce, because I think that's the area our car is lacking. Despite us being top of all the charts, I feel like some more downforce is always welcome. So we go for the front downforce upgrade, and we actually cannot afford the rear.
If it were me, this is probably what I'd invest in.
And the only thing we can afford is the minus on the engine side. So I decided I'm just going to save these R&D points for another time, and we'll get some of those upgrades later on. But that's going to give us a somewhat unbalanced car for the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, which isn't really ideal for a track with the long flowing corners like that. But we'll deal with that when it comes. We'll just run some extra rear downforce. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.